Here's an exercise for being a bit more aware of the spine and how the different parts of the spine move relative to each other in connection with each other. So neutral spine is when the spine is in its natural S-shaped curve, where the neck moves in a little bit, the upper back moves out and the lower back moves in. And of course we're moving most of the time. It's very rarely that the spine is kind of in that neutral position. But practicing feeling what it's like when those S-shaped curves are lined up can help us be more aware of what our spine is doing and how the different parts connect. So for this exercise you'll need a broomstick, and if the slightly heavier ones are better than a plastic one if you've got one. You just unscrew the broom handle from the brush, and then we're going to put it on our backs. So in a tabletop position, this is great exercise to do with a partner for a couple of reasons. And the first is just to help get the stick on your back. And what we're trying to do is have the back of the head, the upper back and the back of the sacrum in contact with the stick. So in a tabletop position, and then because our arms are longer than our thighs, generally a little bend in the elbows will help to get the stick parallel to the floor, which is what we want. So I'm slightly bending elbows, rolling the elbow creases forward, pulling the shoulders down the back. Okay, so if the spine is in its S-shaped neutral kind of position, the S-shaped curve, the back of the head will be touching the stick, the upper back, the thoracic will be touching the stick, and the back of the pelvis, but the lower back and the neck, the bits that curve inwards, won't be touching. So it's really helpful to have somebody have a look at you, because even though I feel like that is happening, I know I have a tendency for my back to move away from the stick more than it needs to. So we want a little bit of an arch, natural arch in the lower back, and then the upper back touching. And then we just try and hold that and breathe broad into the rib cage, so that 360-degree expansive breath, and maintain the position. And why this is so helpful is it can help you to feel what your tendencies might be. So sometimes people notice that they tend to drop the head, and the head isn't naturally making contact with the stick. You might notice that it's tricky to balance the stick on your back because you tend to have more rounding up through the upper back. You might find the opposite, that the lower back is very dipped, and that can again make it trickier to balance. And having somebody just check you out and suggest a few little adjustments can be helpful. And finding your breath there. Okay, and once you feel like you can hold the stick in place and you're able to breathe sideways into your ribs at the same time, then we can add a little bit more challenge of tucking the toes under, straightening the arms and floating the knees up off the floor. And then now we're adding a little bit of core stability. Can we maintain that neutral spine, or does the upper back want to round, to push and use more of the front abs? Does the lower back end up dropping down? Does the head tend to drop? So just feeling for the tendencies there, what your body wants to do. And then coming down and take a breather there. So let me know how that felt for you. Hopefully you felt the relationship between your neck spine, your thoracic spine, your lumbar spine, as you try and maintain that neutral S-shaped curve. And then also once you add a little bit of load to that with your knees off, was the tendency to round up and use your abs, or was it possible to maintain that neutral spine and find how your breathing helps you feel that increase in intra-abdominal pressure that gives you that core stability and support. And once you kind of feel how you can maintain that, you can bring that into so many other movements that we do in yoga. So for example, in your plank, what are your tendencies there? Is the tendency to collapse down in the shoulders? Is the tendency to drop the head down? And again, if you come back to imagining you have that stick on your back, is your head in line? Is your upper back going to be in contact with the back? Do you have a tendency to drop the hips? So it can help you feel what you do in other positions. Same with a side plank. Does the head tend to come forward? Do the ribs tend to move forward? If you imagine that stick, does that help you to feel a more even balance through your body in different positions? Also applies to inversions, it applies to standing poses as well. And if you can just visualize that contact of the back of the head, the upper back and the back of the pelvis, it can help you to be a little bit more aware of where you might be in space, and find a more even position through your trunk. So let me know if that felt interesting and helpful, of kind of practicing feeling the neutral position of your spine, that S-shaped curve, and how an awareness of that can help you in lots of different movements, just to feel how your body is connecting, and whether you can make little adjustments to feel more evenness and balance through your movement.